desk and crossed her arms over her chest. Her nails were manicured with tiny apples. Listen, Holly, I know our orchards have had a friendly rivalry in the past, and in the spirit of putting that behind us, I'll admit that your family's secret cider recipe is unmatched. The truth is, we'd love to have that recipe and the old Gallo orchard at the back of your property. That's why I asked you here today. I wanted to show you what your orchards could be a part of. She sounded like a college recruiter. Just look at what your orchards could aspire to be. Holly had half thought Stacy had invited her to the apple dream just to rub her successes in Holly's face. Holly's apple orchard was going under. Had been going under for a while, and everyone knew it. Holly's family strived for an unremarkable break-even model, but in the past 4 years they'd slowly sunk into the red. Some of that might have been Holly's fault. As the eldest sister in the family and the general manager of Wicked Good Apples, she was adamant they keep their operations on a small scale. Not only was it necessary for their business model, but there were other, far scarier reasons they needed to blend in. Maybe she'd been a little too adamant, though, because if Wicked Good Apples didn't pull a profit this fall, they'd have to close. But being bought out by her lifelong rival? That was worse, way worse. Holly's eyes dropped to a cider glass on the desk printed with the Apple Dream's name and logo. Stacy had spent all morning humble bragging about her cider contracts, but Holly knew that Wicked Good Apple's family recipe was better. Her great-great-grandmother had planted the orchards by hand to spite a town councilman, and the orchards had been passed down through the generations along with the secret cider recipe. There was no way Holly was giving it up. Actually, Holly couldn't give up the recipe. There was a special ingredient no one else had. We're prepared to make a generous offer, Stacy continued, and she gave Holly a sad smile. We know your business prospects are bleak, but we aren't going to take advantage of that. Stacy pressed one slender hand over her heart. Our family wants to do right by yours. Holly swallowed down her nausea and shoved her fists into her back pockets. She always felt vaguely sick around Stacy. She told herself it was because she was allergic to perfectionism. But the truth was, she and Stacy had a far more complicated history. Stacy reached behind her for a folded square of cream stationery and held it out. Holly reluctantly took it. Frig, even their stationery was a class act. When she opened the note, her jaw dropped. Are you kidding me? That's for the orchards and the recipe. We don't want the house, but we aren't going to kick you off the land either. You and your aunts and sisters can continue living there. For now. Holly counted the zeros 6 times, and then folded the paper and handed it back. I'll have to consult with my family. It was the polite thing to say, but she already knew their answers. Her sister Winter would curse Stacy out until one of their aunts exclaimed that ladies didn't speak in such a way in her day, and Winter would remind her that she was by no means a lady. Holly's youngest sister, Missy, would relay all the latest gossip about Stacy, but wouldn't actually commit to weighing in one way or another. As for Holly, she would rather live off potatoes and salt for a year than ever sell the orchards to Stacy, no matter how badly Wicked Good Apples was failing. Their mothers had been rivals long before Stacy and Holly had inherited the farms, and Holly had great respect for tradition. Stacy gave her a cold smile. You do that, but don't take too long. The threat was implicit. The longer they took to decide, the lower the offer would go. A curl of wind slithered over them, rifling Stacy's perfect hair. Stacy narrowed her eyes, and Holly quickly buried the ember of anger that had flared to life at her rival's words. Not here. Anywhere but here. Holly straightened her shoulders, and the errant breeze vanished. I'll see myself out. She exited the barn, her boot heels clomping across the waxed floorboards, and she didn't let her posture slump until she reached her 2009 Kia. Once safely inside, she pressed her forehead to the steering wheel and took several deep breaths, calmly reciting all the reasons she was not going back inside and telling Stacy where she could shove her offer. The main reason was that Holly was already on thin legal ice after the hedgehog incident. On the short drive home,